Station lockdowns at critical level 9, and the human's hoodie pocket is purring. Kyle Thas swept his scanner across the maintenance corridor for the 47th time in 20 minutes, mandibles clicking in barely controlled panic. 2 Crixian cubs, loose on diplomatic station Harmony. The species whose adults had triggered 3 separate war declarations last cycle. The species whose juveniles possessed fully developed combat instincts and venom glands at 2 months old. Sector 7B clear. His second-in-command reported through the comm, voice tight with tension. Moving to 7C. Maintain weapons hot, Kael'thas ordered. Tranquilizers only. The ambassadors want them alive. If that's even possible, he didn't add. Crixian cubs didn't tranquilize easily. They also didn't hide, didn't flee, and certainly didn't stay quiet. They attacked. Everything, always. Which made the current situation cosmically worse. The human, Emma Johnson, maintenance technician 3rd class, sat cross-legged beside an open-air filtration panel, completely ignoring the lockdown alarms that bathed the corridor in red emergency lighting, her strange fabric clothing, and that ridiculous hoodie she always wore, looked absurdly casual against the chaos. "Hey, Chief," Emma called out, waving a hydrospanner. "You need this corridor clear? I'm almost done with the filter replacement." Kael'thas's scanner shrieked proximity alert. His weapon came up automatically, targeting systems locking onto the human's midsection. More specifically, the significant bulge in her hoodie's front pocket that was definitely moving. "Don't move," Kael'thas commanded, his 3 hearts hammering against his thorax. Emma froze, hydrospanner halfway to the panel. Okay? What's wrong?" "Your clothing. The pocket region. There's movement." "Oh." Emma glanced down at her hoodie. "Yeah, it's pretty roomy. I keep all sorts of stuff in." A soft chittering sound emerged from the pocket. Organic. Definitely organic. Kael'thas's finger tensed on the trigger. Behind him, 6 security officers raised their weapons in synchronized horror. "Emma Johnson," Kael'thas said slowly, using the calm during catastrophe voice from his crisis training. "I need you to very carefully tell me what is in your pocket." The human looked genuinely confused. "In my pocket? What are you—" Her eyes widened. "Oh, you mean these little guys?" "These little guys." Emma reached into her hoodie pocket. "No," Kael'thas started. Too late. The human pulled her hand out and nestled in her palm, curled against each other like they were conducting a comfort-seeking behavioral protocol, were 2 Crixian cubs. Their scales gleamed iridescent blue-black under the emergency lighting. Their eyes were closed. Their tiny clawed feet were tucked underneath their bodies. Their miniature tails, capable of delivering paralytic venom, were wrapped loosely around Emma's wrist. And they were purring. Purring. "Yeah, these 2," Emma said cheerfully, completely oblivious to the 6 weapons now trained directly at her vital organs. They were hanging out near the cold vent in Section 6. Looked pretty miserable, so The purring sound intensified as one cub shifted position, burrowing deeper into Emma's palm. Kael'thas's scanner clattered to the floor. "So, I figured they needed somewhere warm," Emma continued, gently placing the cubs back into her hoodie's kangaroo pocket. They immediately snuggled against her stomach, their purring vibrating through the fabric. Poor things were shaking. That vent system drops to like 15 Celsius when the cooling cycle kicks in. Kael'thas couldn't move, couldn't speak. His vocal cords had apparently decided to stop functioning entirely. Behind him, Officer R. Hill made a strangled sound that might have been a prayer. "Human Emma," Kael'thas finally managed, his voice climbing 2 octaves higher than normal. "Those are Crixian cubs." "Yeah?" Emma tilted her head. I guessed from the scales. We got that species database update last month." "Crixian. Cubs," Kyle Thas repeated, enunciating each syllable like explaining quantum physics to a juvenile. "Apex predators. Documented attack range of 3 meters. Venom production beginning at 6 weeks old. Current galactic threat assessment, extreme." Emma looked down at her hoodie pocket, where a tiny snout had emerged, eyes still closed, making soft squeaking sounds. "These guys?" She laughed. Actually laughed. "Chief, they're babies. They were scared and cold. So I picked them up and put them somewhere warm and safe. That's like universal, right? Baby behavior?" "They should have attacked you," Officer R. Hill said, his translator crackling with disbelief. "The moment you approached, the instant your hand entered their strike range." "But they didn't." Emma shrugged. "They just kind of looked at me, made these sad little noises, so I scooped them up." Kael'thas activated his comm with a trembling manipulator. "Command, this is Security Chief Kael'thas. I need immediate contact with Ambassadors Vex, Thule, and Zara. Emergency code Omega-7. "Nature of emergency?" Command responded. "We found their cubs." A pause. "Condition?" Kael'thas stared at Emma, who was now humming something while scrolling through her datapad with one hand, the other resting protectively over her hoodie pocket. "Alive, unharmed. Currently residing in human maintenance technician's clothing and exhibiting impossible behavioral patterns." "Say again?" "Just get the ambassadors here. Now." While they waited, one of the cubs shifted position. Its head emerged fully from the pocket, scales catching the light. It yawned, displaying rows of needle-sharp teeth and venom glands that glistened wetly, then made a sound somewhere between a chirp and a trill. Emma absently reached down and scratched behind its tiny head crest. Every security officer flinched. The cub leaned into her touch, purring louder. "That should trigger their killing instinct," R. Hill whispered. "Direct contact with the cranial region. It's their primary attack vector." "Huh," Emma said, clearly only half listening. "He likes the scritches. The other one's still sleeping, I think. Can you guys turn down those alarms? They're probably exhausted from all the noise." "Exhausted," Kael'thas repeated numbly. "Yeah. Babies need lots of sleep. Growing takes energy." Emma's expression shifted to concern. "Wait. You guys have been looking for them, right? How long have they been missing?" 4 hours and 16 minutes, Kael'thas said. "Station-wide lockdown initiated after ambassadors reported them missing from their quarters. We've had 200 personnel searching every sector. Oh no, their parents must be freaking out." Emma started to stand. Both cubs made distressed noises. She immediately sat back down. Okay, I got you guys. We'll wait here." The corridor fell silent, except for the purring and the distant alarm klaxons. Kael'thas watched a Crixian cub, classified as one of the galaxy's most dangerous juveniles, stretch languidly in Emma's pocket, like a domesticated companion animal, then settle back into sleep with its tiny claws kneading the fabric of her hoodie. His worldview, carefully constructed over 40 years of xenobiology training and security protocols, cracked straight down the middle. The thundering of heavy footsteps announced the ambassador's arrival before Kael'thas's comm could. Vex, Thule, and Zara rounded the corner at full sprint, their larger adult forms making the corridors shake, their scales flared in full defensive posture. They skidded to a stop, clearly expecting blood, carnage, a human corpse being consumed by their offspring. Instead, they found Emma sitting peacefully beside the air filtration panel, datapad in one hand, the other resting gently on her hoodie pocket where two small lumps were visible, rising and falling with steady breathing. "Our cubs," Zara breathed, her translator barely managing the emotional complexity. They're napping," Emma supplied helpfully. "Been out for like 20 minutes now. I think all the excitement wore them out." Vexthul approached cautiously, his massive form moving with surprising grace. He extended one clawed hand toward the pocket opening. Both cubs' eyes snapped open. A synchronized, guttural growl emerged from the tiny bodies. The same warning sound that had preceded 17 documented maulings. Vexthul jerked his hand back as if burned. The cubs burrowed deeper into Emma's hoodie, disappearing completely into the fabric, their growling intensifying. "Whoa, hey," Emma said, her voice taking on a gentle, chiding tone. She reached into the pocket and carefully extracted both cubs, who clung to her fingers with their tiny claws. "Don't be rude to your parents. They were worried about you." She held the cubs up toward Vexthul and Zara. The cubs hissed. "That's not how we act," Emma continued, seemingly oblivious to the fact that she was scolding two apex predator juveniles. She scratched gently behind their head crests. "I know you're comfy, but your mom and dad have been looking everywhere for you." The cubs' hissing subsided into reluctant chirping. Zara's translator emitted a sound that might have been a sob. The corridor filled with more arrivals, this time medical and scientific personnel. Dr. Zelaya, the station's premier xenobiologist, pushed through with her scanning equipment already active. "Impossible readings," she muttered, her 4 eyes fixed on her display. "Completely impossible." "What's impossible?" Emma asked. Dr. Zelaya looked up, her expression caught between scientific fascination and existential crisis. "I've studied Crixian physiology for 37 cycles. These cubs should have aggression hormones at maximum saturation. Their threat assessment neural clusters should be firing constantly. Their venom production should be in overdrive." She held up her scanner, showing readings that meant nothing to Emma, but clearly meant everything to every alien present. These cubs have 0 measurable aggression hormones. 0. Their stress indicators are non-existent. Their threat assessment clusters are in complete dormancy. Dr. Zelia's voice climbed. "This is physiologically impossible. Crixian cubs maintain constant threat assessment from the moment they hatch. It's their primary survival mechanism." "Maybe they just felt safe?" Emma suggested. "Safe?" Dr. Zelia's translator actually glitched. "Crixian cubs don't feel safe. They don't have the neurological capacity for—" One of the cubs yawned, showing all its teeth, then nuzzled against Emma's thumb. Dr. Zelia's scanner clattered to the floor. "Here," Emma said, carefully trying to transfer the cubs to Vexthul's waiting hands. "You should probably take them back to your quarters." The cubs' claws extended immediately, gripping the fabric of Emma's hoodie with desperate strength. They made high-pitched distress calls, scrambling against her hands, trying to climb back into the pocket. Okay," Emma relented, letting them burrow back into their chosen sanctuary. They disappeared into the fabric, their purring resuming instantly. "I think they're comfy. Maybe let them nap a bit longer." "They've never been calm," Vexthul said quietly, his massive form seeming to shrink. "Not since hatching. 2 months of constant aggression, attacking everything. We've consulted every Crixian child-rearing expert in the sector. Tried every traditional calming technique. Zara added, her head crest drooping. Combat meditation, territorial establishment, dominance assertion protocols, nothing worked. Emma looked down at the two sleeping lumps in her hoodie, then back at the assembled aliens, security, ambassadors, scientists, all staring at her with varying expressions of shock. She laughed. Actually laughed. Did you try just being cozy? They're babies, not warriors. Dr. Zelia recovered her scanner and immediately focused it on Emma's hoodie. The fabric. There must be something in the fabric composition. Pheromone absorption, neural dampening fibers, sonic resonance. It's cotton, Emma said. Well, cotton poly blend. Got it at a market on Earth. Cost like 20 credits. The scanner beeped its analysis. Dr. Zelia stared at the results. Basic textile. No anomalous properties whatsoever. Kyle Thas stepped forward, his earlier panic giving way to methodical investigation mode. Human Emma, walk me through exactly what happened. Your technique? The precise sequence of actions. Technique? Emma blinked. I didn't have a technique. I was replacing the filter in Section 6, and I heard these little squeaking sounds near the cold vent. Found these two huddled together, shaking. They looked scared. Scared? Vexthul repeated, his translator struggling with the concept applied to his species. Yeah, I grew up with dogs and cats. Baby behavior is baby behavior, right? Shaking, huddled together, making distress sounds, that's universal I'm cold and scared language. Emma absently stroked the lumps in her pocket. So I picked them up, talked to them in a calm voice, and tucked them into my hoodie pocket. Warmth, enclosed space, close to a heartbeat. Makes babies feel safe. Safe, Dr. Zelia whispered, her scanner now focused on Emma's vital signs. You provided comfort? Well, yeah, they're babies. Dr. Zelia's four eyes widened simultaneously. She turned to Vexthul and Zara, her voice taking on the tone of someone watching their entire field of study collapse. Crixion child-rearing protocols. Describe them. Zara's crest rippled with discomfort. Standard practice. Competitive stress environment from hatching. Cubs are placed in controlled conflict scenarios to strengthen combat instincts. Territorial challenges every 6 hours. Resource competition during feeding. Constant threat assessment training. It's how we've raised cubs for 10,000 generations. Vexthul added. It produces the finest warriors in the galaxy. It produces warriors, Dr. Zelia said slowly, who never experienced unconditional comfort. Not once. Not ever. The corridor fell silent except for the gentle purring from Emma's hoodie. Emma's face shifted through several expressions before landing on something between sympathy and disbelief. Wait. You're telling me these babies have been in fight or flight mode since they hatched? Constant stress? No downtime? It strengthens them, Vexthul said, but his voice lacked conviction. It exhausts them, Emma countered gently. She looked down at her hoodie pocket where the cubs were still peacefully sleeping. Look, I'm not trying to criticize your parenting, but even soldiers need to sleep sometime, right? These guys are babies learning to be tough. They need breaks. They need to know there's somewhere safe where they can just be babies. Breaks. Zara's translator flagged the word, highlighting it in her visual display. She stared at it like it was written in an alien language, which, Kyle Thas supposed, it essentially was. The concept doesn't exist in Crixion child-rearing, Dr. Zelia confirmed, scanning through her database. Not in any traditional context. Cubs are maintained in constant readiness protocols until they reach maturity at 2 years. 2 years? Emma's voice pitched upward. of non-stop stress. No wonder they attacked everything. They were probably terrified and exhausted. One of the cubs stirred in the pocket, making a sleepy chirping sound. Its small head emerged, eyes blinking open slowly. It looked at Emma first, purring, then noticed its parents. The cub didn't growl this time. It chirped, a softer sound, and extended one tiny paw toward Zara. Zara made a sound her translator didn't even attempt to render. She reached out carefully, and the cub allowed her to stroke its head crest. The second cub emerged, stretching with another jaw-cracking yawn, and clambered carefully out of the pocket into Vex Thul's waiting hands. Both cubs were calm. Alert, yes. Their eyes tracked movement, their scales rippled with sensory input. But calm, manageable. They curled into their parents' arms without aggression, without panic, just content. "This is the first time," Vex Thul said, his voice thick with emotion his translator couldn't fully capture. "In 2 months that I've held them without sedation or restraints." Emma smiled, pulling her now empty hoodie straight. Sometimes babies just need a nap in a safe place. Makes everything else easier. Dr. Xylia was furiously typing notes into her datapad, muttering about paradigm shifts and revolutionary child-rearing protocols. Kael'thas holstered his weapon and tried to remember what a normal shift felt like. Kael'thas sat in his office 3 hours later, staring at the incident report on his screen. His manipulators hovered over the input device, trying to find words that wouldn't make him sound completely insane. Security incident, resolution report, incident. Escaped Crixian cubs, code Omega-7. Duration, 4 hours, 16 minutes, resolution method. Human intervention resolved critical security incident through napping protocol. He deleted the last part, rewrote it, deleted it again. There was no protocol-approved way to write, "Human put deadly predators in her pocket and they fell asleep." He filed the report with the exact truth anyway. Station command could make sense of it. That was above his pay grade. In the ambassador's quarters, Vex Thul and Zara sat on the floor, an undignified position for galactic diplomats, while Emma perched on their furniture, the cubs playing calmly between them for the first time in their short lives. "So, the key thing," Emma explained, gesturing with her hands, "is recognizing stress signals before they escalate. If they start getting twitchy or aggressive, that's usually because they're overstimulated. They need a quiet space to decompress." "Decompress," Zara repeated, adding the term to her growing list of human childcare concepts that had no Crixian equivalent. "Yeah. Like, imagine being on high alert every second of every day. You'd snap eventually, right?" Emma watched one cub investigate a corner of the room, then returned to sniff her boot. "They're learning to be strong, sure. But they also need to learn when it's okay to not be strong. That's what safe spaces are for." "Warm environments," Vex Thul noted, recording everything on his datapad. "Consistent comfort availability, stress signal recognition, designated rest periods. And maybe..." Emma hesitated, then continued gently. "Maybe sometimes they just need affection with no strings attached. No training goal, no combat lesson. Just, 'Hey, you're doing great, I love you.'" The cubs chirped in unison, climbing into Emma's lap. "We've never told them that," Zara said quietly. "Love wasn't part of the protocol." "Might be worth adding it in," Emma suggested, scratching both cubs behind their crests simultaneously. Across the station, Dr. Xylia was on her 6th hour of continuous research compilation, her 3 assistants struggling to keep up with her dictation speed. Revolutionary implications for apex predator child rearing across 17 documented species. if comfort-based stress reduction protocols can modify Crixian juvenile aggression patterns. Potential applications include Veraneck hatchlings, Tormak cubs, and possibly even Zitharian larvae. Dr. Zelia, one assistant interrupted carefully. Should we credit the human in the paper? Credit her? I'm naming the entire theoretical framework after her. Dr. Zelia pulled up her title draft. The Johnson Comfort Paradigm, Comfort-Based Stress Reduction in Juvenile Apex Predators. In Station Command, 3 administrators reviewed Kyle Thas's report with expressions ranging from confusion to resigned acceptance. Add it to the Human Protocols document, the station commander finally said. Under Unexpected Crisis Resolution Methods. We're up to 47 entries in that document, another administrator noted. Make it 48. Title it. She paused, reading Kyle Thas's report again. Human Child Care Instincts, Universal Application Potential. Should we classify this? Oh, absolutely. I don't want every delegation with problematic juveniles lining up outside the human's maintenance schedule. Too late for that, as it turned out. Emma returned to Section 6 to finally finish the air filtration repair she'd started 7 hours earlier. She'd barely gotten her tools out when she heard the familiar chittering. 2 small forms skittered down the corridor, Vexthul and Zara following at a respectful distance, and launched themselves at Emma's legs. Hey, troublemakers, Emma laughed, scooping up the cubs. Didn't we just hang out? They became agitated, Vexthul explained, his translator managing to convey parental exhaustion. Started pacing, looking toward the door. Zara suggested they might want to visit you. They're scheduled for combat training in 2 hours, Zara added. But we thought perhaps a brief comfort session beforehand might improve their focus. Emma grinned. Smart. Yeah, come here, you two. She tucked them into her hoodie pocket, the same one now officially designated the cubs' preferred napping location. They settled immediately, purring commencing within seconds. Same time tomorrow? Emma asked the ambassadors. I'll bring the good hoodie, the one with the fleece lining. We would appreciate that, Vexthul said formally. Then quieter. Thank you, Emma Johnson, for teaching us how to love our children. Emma's eyes got a little misty. Anytime. The ambassadors left. The cubs slept. Emma finished her repairs with one hand, the other resting protectively over her pocket. Kyle Thas found her during his evening rounds, sitting against the corridor wall on her lunch break, coffee in one hand, datapad in the other, hoodie pocket gently rising and falling with 2 sleeping cubs. Another successful nap protocol? He asked. Yep, these guys are getting good at the whole relaxation thing. Emma took a sip of coffee, careful not to jostle her passengers. Dr. Zelia says they're now the calmest Crixian cubs on record. Station Command is considering making you an official consultant for juvenile alien behavioral issues. Hard pass. I fix air filters. But Emma smiled. Though I don't mind cubs sitting during my breaks. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching station personnel pass by and do double takes at the sight of Crixian cubs peacefully napping in a human's clothing. You know what's crazy? Emma said suddenly, looking up at Kyle Thas with that expression humans got when they just realized something obvious. You guys never tried just asking them if they wanted a hug. Kyle Thas thought about that. About 10,000 generations of Crixian warrior culture. About protocols and training regimens and combat readiness. About 2 tiny cubs who just needed someone to hold them and tell them everything was okay. No, he admitted. I suppose we didn't. Emma scratched the edge of her hoodie pocket, eliciting sleepy purring from within. "Well," she said, finishing her coffee. "Live and learn."